UK green lobbyists have accused of greenwashing oil-rich Azerbaijan before the Baku COP summit. I'm going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline that UK lobbyists have been accused of greenwashing oil-rich Azerbaijan before the Baku COP summit. Azerbaijan, a authoritarian regime, has been accused of human rights abuses, including jailing climate activists on bogus charges. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. So this highlights what the influence that oil and gas companies have on politicians once again, showing that they are trying to push back against the idea of climate change in any way, shape or form. And their best way of doing that is throwing money at politicians, political parties, and it's coming to fruition. The so-called green prosperity that looks to be coming in, that's supposed to be coming from the Labour Party, is not as ambitious as it should be. It has been dumbed down quite a little bit. And that it looks like obviously that they are obviously doing a £22 billion carbon capture project, which I don't think is a complete and total goddamn waste of money as well. Are these things really going to make a massive difference? Is that story, for example, going to make a massive difference? No. But when countries like Azerbaijan have all these have this oil and gas like Saudi Arabia has as well, they want to maintain the status quo. They don't want to change the status quo in any way, shape or form. They don't want people to less rely on oil. Oil is one of the running oil machines literally of the global markets. You know, they rely on it. It's a necessity. It allows them to bankroll and continue to have the wealth that they need. And the last thing they want is that ever being dried down or run out. So they want to continue things. And their best way is obviously influential politicians, which is why you have not just this kind of money bankrolling into the Conservatives, but you've had it going into Labour. And they are being influenced by these political being influenced by politicians. And I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. But that even having a COP summit in Baku, of all places, yeah, it's just not the same as it used to be, is it, guys? So let's read more into this. So a lobbying firm with close links to a former cabinet minister and the fossil fuel industry is being paid $4.7 million to help oil-rich Azerbaijan enhance its image ahead of the crucial UN COP climate summit next month, the iPaper can reveal. The lobbying giant Teneo, which employs Labour's former Culture Secretary Ben Bradshaw, as well as Boris Johnson's former business chief Alex Hickman, has been awarded a 7-month contract which campaigners claim will help the state greenwash its reputation. So already right there, you've got somebody who used to be a business chief for Boris Johnson, and you also have someone who was a former Culture Secretary for Labour. On the November the 11th of November, the UN will host its COP29 climate summit in Baku, the Azerbaijani capital. It will be the first major global climate meeting after the US presidential election and will set the tone for discussions for tackling global warming. The talks will involve world leaders, ministers. Negotiations have a particular focus on how to make finance available to developing countries for climate action. I do wonder if Donald Trump is going to turn up there or not. The choice of Azerbaijan as a host for the summit has been controversial. Its economic is highly dependent on fossil fuel, and campaigners have criticised the regime's human rights record, including the imprisonment of climate activists. So why has it been chosen there? Who made the decision? Clearly not someone in the interest of climate. An investigation by the Eye, in conjunction with the newsletter Democracy for Sale and source material, reveals that part of Teneo's contract, one of its British consultants will be paid a monthly fee of $25,000, plus bonuses totaling $50,000, while only working on a part-time basis. According to US documents, Teneo will provide media training and advice on narrative developments for the host of the COP summit. The lobbying firm's work will be led by Global Strategy President Geoff Morrell, who is a former executive at the oil giant BP, which is Azerbaijan's biggest foreign investor. While working for BP, Morad chaired opportunistic environmentalists for exaggerating the impact of the company's Deepwater Horizon explosion, an oil rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico that killed 11 people and discharged 4 million barrels of oil into the ocean. Despite hosting the environmental summit, Azerbaijan is planning to ramp up oil and gas production over the next decade, according to a report from German NGO. The country, which earns 60% of its entire revenue from oil and gas, has also massively increased its gas exports to Europe since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Climate campaign groups have accused Teneo of helping Azerbaijan to greenwash its image. Are we really surprised by this? Layla Stanley, a senior investigator at the Global Witness, said firms helping petro-states like Azerbaijan are complicit in greenwashing. And instead of focusing on glossing up their image, Azerbaijan and its partners should be making fossil fuel companies pay for the UN's Loss and Damage Fund, planet-wrecking polluters, and pay for the devastation that they cause. No, they're not going to do that. Well, they're not really going to do that. Let's be serious. In addition to its work for the Azerbaijani regime, Teneo has also signed lucrative deals to work with major fossil fuel producers, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, on other contracts, according to the ICE analysis of US government findings. It also works for some of the world's leading fossil fuel firms, including the British gas owner Centrica and mining giant BHP. Kathy Mulvey, campaigner at the Union of Concerned Scientists, said it's a clear conflict of interest for a PR firm to be paid to serve both oil and gas company clients that are driving the climate crisis and host country governments charged with shepherding its upcoming international climate talks. What is this word here? Interesting. According to the US document, Teneo's lobbying team work on the Azerbaijan contract includes Boris Johnson's former chief advisor Alex Hickman. We've said that already. Shortly after the general election, the firm sought to bolster their links to the Labour government by appointing former Labour cabinet minister Ben Bradshaw as the senior advisor. Although the US document did not list Bradshaw as one of the individuals working on the Azerbaijani COP contract, when he was hired by Teneo, the firm's UK chief executive Nick Cladden said Ben's deep insight and experience in helping to understand the priorities and approach of the new Labour administration will be a tremendous benefit to Teneo's clients around the world. Teneo's senior managing director is Patrick Lolfan, one of Tony Blair's former Downing Street special advisors and Labour's former director of policy and head of research. Yeah, because there's definitely no links here. There's no direct links to Labour here. Clearly, there's nothing here, guys. The firm's managing director, Robert Fuller, also spent 6 weeks volunteering to help Labour during the recent election campaigns. Azerbaijani state-owned oil and gas company Solkar and its partners are set to raise the country's annual gas production by 2023, according to a report produced by Urgewad and CEE Bankwatch last month. Production is forecast to increase from 37 billion cubic meters to 49 billion cubic meters by 2033, and Solkar has also agreed to increase gas exports to the European Union by 17% by 2026. So instead of getting it from Russia, they're just going to get it from Azerbaijan. And the thing is that Azerbaijan can still get that from Russia if they want to, because it's not going from Russia to Europe. It's so stupid, I know. The report is based on analysis on data from Ruscon Energy, a Norwegian-based independent energy research company. The report author, Regine Richer, said, given Solkar's pivotal role in Azerbaijan's economy and its close ties to the country's political elite, its influence will surely be felt through the climate negotiations in Baku. Solkar launched a green energy division shortly after Azerbaijan was appointed as COP host, prompting investment in renewable technologies. In April, Azerbaijan's president, Imran Avik, said having oil and gas deposits is not our fault, it's a gift from God. Last month, a COP spokesperson said Azerbaijan is investing in gas capacity in response to a European request to increase supplies following disruption of supplies from Russia. According to... I should actually say something about this, because we know that Europe has looked elsewhere for increasing oil and gas because they still have to rely on that. And obviously, they're not getting it from Russia anymore, but the thing is that Russia can technically get it from countries that sell from Russia to that country that could sell still directly to the EU. Or one other ways they could potentially do it is they could sell to one country and then that country could sell it to another country and then another country could sell it to the EU. They could always do it that way as well. So that there's always a trickle effect. So to say that that is completely turned off is near to next impossible. It's not going to happen. They will find ways around it. According to Amnesty International, Azerbaijan has intensified its crackdown on human rights and media freedom since the country was made host of the world's most important climate conference. Prominent climate activist Inar Bamari was arrested this year on what Amnesty described as bogus charges, and he faces up to 8 years in prison. The human rights group said the charges against him were fabricated, and his prosecution is an apparent retaliation for his criticism of the government and his activism. So yeah, if you try to stand up and speak for yourself, you will get thrown in jail, basically. Agnos Kalamad, a Secretary General of Amnesty International, said Azerbaijan is hosting an international conference on climate justice while actively undermining the main pillars of climate activism, repressing all forms of critical expression and protest, and dismantling local civil society. Days before Mamari's arrest, Azerbaijan President Imran Avi said that having oil and gas deposits is not our fault and it's a gift from God. Speaking at the climate diplomacy event in Berlin, Avi said, as the head of the country's rich in fossil fuels, of course, we will defend the rights to these countries and continue investment and production because the world needs it. The world needs to stop relying on it. It's the problem. That's the problem. The world relies too much on it, and they're refusing to lower itself on it. World leaders, ministers, and negotiators convened at the COP to negotiate a rubber stamp plans to jointly address climate change and its impacts. Both Teneo and Azerbaijan governments declined to comment. And there's a piece there on Teneo or Textio, whichever way you want to call it there, if you want to read that as well. I'm not going to read that bit for you guys. But obviously it tells you about the influence that Azerbaijan have when it comes to the oil and the oil that they have. Because, as it said there, when the war in Ukraine started, understandably so, the EU had to find other ways of getting oil because they don't want to keep taking it from Russia. There were other options, I'm sure, but obviously Azerbaijan seems to be the logical one, and to increase that production there because they're not going to get it from Russia. But it still doesn't change the fact that there is influence there in particular we're talking about obviously into the UK, because UK lobbyists are part of that as well. So there's always connections there, unfortunately. And as long as there is money in as long as there's money influencing politicians, yeah, I know people will still continue to protest, scream, and all they as much as they want about climate, but it's just becoming more and more difficult for people. And I guess the world needs to be cooked before people start realizing that maybe they should do something about the climate. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of the story about the UK lobbyists accused of greenwashing oil-rich Azerbaijan? Are you surprised by this? Are you actually surprised that they're even hosting a COP summit? Let me know your thoughts and more on this down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you could do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.